This evening we have a special talk from Howie Lan. Before we get into that, I just want to check to make sure um, if there's any questions, I can take a moment to answer them. See how you're doing with the reading. Make sure you got the link to the Dashabhumika Sutra that I sent, as well as other resources were posted this week. I'd like to also just remind you, a few of you have been very good about posting in the forum. Just remind you that that is your main grade this semester. It's a sort of just participation in forum, bringing questions about the material to class. So just a gentle reminder. Thank you, those of you who have been doing it. Excellent questions this week and always. And before we turn to Howie, Dr. Lancaster, do you have anything to say?
Yes, hello, everybody. Good to see you all. Some of you have turned in, well, three of you have turned in questions, so maybe I should just address those a little bit. And I appreciate the fact that Kanjan has responded to some of those questions. Thank you so much. Khan, you asked the question that most of the sutras you've read, that many bodhisattvas are also said to be in the audience. And the sutras sometimes explicitly list their names. And why is it that we have this included in every sutra? I think that the issue is that they took the delivery of a sutra to be an event. And since it was an event, that meant it had a specific time stamp, and they needed to identify exactly which day and which sutra which teaching this was. So one of the ways they theoretically did it was to say that the way you know which particular time this was is by the audience. Who was there? So it would be like saying we would identify this class by listing all of your names, as this was the event that all of us got together. And that's a way of identity. The other thing that you said, Khan, was that, as you said, not a question, but a comment, that the Buddha's standard of joyfulness seems to differ from our interpretation of joy. Jump for joy, we say. But that, as you point out, joyfulness comes from removing fears through gaining wisdom, following the bodhisattva's footsteps. And that's a good comment, and I appreciate it. I think that that is true, that the joy which is described for the people who in the first bhumi become joyful, is that the joy is not just something which you jump for joy, but has to do with your wisdom, with your development, with your inner feelings, and what you state this in your comment, and I think you're quite right. Thank you for that comment. Um,
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Herbert Kanjan, you responded, and maybe you want to say how you responded.
Sure. Yes. What I was responding was just from my own experience, and that, when I first, reading a sutra in English, people tend to gloss over the names because especially they
Yeah,
can seem very long, and people don't understand the context of the name itself. But in reading it in the kanji characters or the Chinese characters, we would understand the kind of nature or the vow, as you said, because as you were talking about the additional paramitas, besides skillful means, there was the idea of vow, denotes their practice as well, or even what realm or world that they live in. So it actually, as you were talking about time, place,
yeah,
event, it's pretty significant, especially since some of those bodhisattvas are specific, like in the Lotus Sutra. We have the bodhisattvas from underground that even um, people identify with as avatars, even based on, like superior practice,
yes,
in which Nichiren Shonen, Jogyo Bodhisattva to the superior practice Bodhisattva, how do you say, um, identifies with that aspect of his practice, through the sutra and through that event. So that
yeah,
was one thing I was mentioning from my own experience.
yes. Good for you. Thank you so much. Sanjip, you ask a question. What is upaya? Why is it essential for a bodhisattva? How does a Buddhist view of time challenge conventional notions of past, present, and future? Again, Reverend Kanjan, how about you giving your response, which you did? Thank you so much for doing that.
Sorry, the sound went out. Which one was that the response to?
This is a response to the question of what is upaya.
Oh, it's skillful means. Yes. I believe because I I was waiting for more questions to come because I know we were supposed to respond to two. So I had made that response a few days ago, I believe. And that the idea with the paramitas, the skillful means being the way of employing the Dharma, um, which is a very particular Buddhist aspect, I think, amongst traditions that, you know, rather than being a dogmatic aspect, um, being the idea of, according to the time, the place, the country, the capacity of the hearer, etc., that one employs upaya, skillful means for the liberation of sentient beings. So, um, I think that's what I said. I can't remember 100% because it was a few days ago. I was waiting for more people to comment, so because I know we're supposed to comment to two of them.
Yeah, we were going to have to push those of you who are taking it for credit to make sure you enter into these discussions. And after tonight, I think you will see that you want to do that. Well, Reverend Kanjan, you yourself asked two questions.
Yes.
And
No, go ahead.
do you want to ask those questions again?
I believe the first one was the idea. Well, it was, how do you say, the wisdom sutras that we're studying, and with this aspect of the Avatamsaka sutras. I studied as a monk, but I have to admit that I didn't in depth as much as I should and understand the specifics of them. And that actually the additional idea to the six paramitas was really fascinating to me. Um, and seeing how additional paramitas or were employed. That was very interesting to me. I think that was my first one.
Yeah. Yes, the paramitas were increased from 6 to 10. And From one perspective, 10 is the perfect number. So if you're going to do a complete thing, you need to have 10 items. And if you have less than 10, you're not there. So they felt that the 6 paramitas were just not quite enough, I think, at one level. So they had to add 4 more to make it 10. And the ones that they added have to do with the way in which the paramitas are used by etc. So they didn't just add anything. When you look at the other 4, you can begin to see that they were intentionally trying to put across a point that this sutra and these perfections have to do with the whole of the human experience, and that they needed to add things to show that that was the case. And they did. And I recommend that all of you look for the 10 paramitas and look at them and consider them and make your comments. And so we've talked a little bit about the joyfulness already. That was your second question. I think it is the case that we need always to think that when we're dealing with the Buddhist materials, we're using English words. And those English words have a history and they have a nuanced meaning, and that's why translation is so difficult. So is joyfulness the best way to describe what is meant by the Sanskrit word? I think it's all right. I think that we can say there is, within our English word of joy, there is spiritual joy, emotional joy, and joy if our team wins the Super Bowl or things like that. We have all kinds of joys included within our term joy. So I think it's an okay term to use. And one of the best ways to look at this is to go to the Oxford English Dictionary and look at all the uses of joy that have occurred, at least in the English language, to see whether or not they cover the things which you think need to be covered. If they don't, then we need to back up a bit and ask ourselves what other word would be better. Then we turn to a thesaurus and we see if the thesaurus can give us an alternate word that might better cover what we have. Or we can say that the Buddhist word is used in 2 or 3 different senses. And so we have to identify which sense is being used in this place. That's one of the big things we've done with the dictionary. That we have, when there are times when the word has 3 or 4 aspects, we translate and give a word for each of those aspects. And I think all of you who do translation of any type need to work on it at that level. Thank you very much, Reverend Kanda, and for your very fine work in preparing for these questions and your comments. I appreciate it. Let that be a good lesson to all of you. follow his example. Let's do more of your questions. Now I'm going to give it back to Chris, and I want to thank Howie so much for coming on tonight, because I think that Howie is going to have some things that he will show us about what you can use and deal with as you begin to work with the sutra. Now that you have it in both Chinese and English, Howie will maybe show you that we can translate the Chinese, even if we don't know Chinese, and see if we find that it is similar to the English that we have. So, Howie, I better stop and let you come in. So appreciate so much your coming. Thank you. Chris, I'll turn it back to you to.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Lancaster. Thank you for the questions this week. They're quite good. And if anyone has any difficulty with the Moodle forum, or how to post anything or respond, reply, please contact me, and I'll help walk you through that process. It's fairly simple. Without any further delay, Howie, please.
Well, thank you very much, Professor, and thank you, Chris. As you know, I'm not a Buddhist specialist, but I think tonight, basically, I'm just going to share some of the ideas of in using the resources we have and tool in our research, and just to see if it can, just helping we think in the way it can be enrich of our, means and, gain our ability. Let me just trying to share my screen. Let's see. Am I sharing my screen now?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. So that's always have some issues on sharing. Let me try to see, because my computer have many more. Let's see. So the sharing, Chris, if you can probably help me. The button usually is on the top of.
Huh. Expand your Zoom window. Sometimes maybe make it full
Oh,
screen
okay.
or
So I'm
larger.
maximize it. I mean,
Yeah, sometimes the share button might disappear.
let's see. Is
It might be under
oh,
more.
sure. It's a down there. Okay. Um, yeah, see. Is
Yeah.
it this the one you're seeing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now is showing.
Yeah, full screen slide.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. So today basically is I'm trying to share some of the hopefully some share my experience on using research resources, which including tools, a repository, and ways basically of thinking and doing in our study and research. So in terms of research, some of you probably from previous courses, you already seen this a little bit. The conceptual level, we know the the general concept is we have to do research and then we collect data and also later showing and make it into our own work, and also we make it can be presented in multiple ways. Here we can see, in the research stage, we are using all kinds of resources. So nowadays, it's the internet, the web, right, and the library, and also the actually field works or works which is not necessary in the digital form. So those that's the area I think today we probably what I'm going to talk is mainly regarded in the first stage. The resources today we will focus on some tools and some repositories. In general, tools we have, the in the traditional way, we have web search, before the AI. Right now, we're talking about. The example is, the web browsers and, other special applications like the NTI readers. We already know, for example. And the repositories and references. For example, we already have the digital form of the text for this particular class, the suture. So this is the one I I believe everybody at this stage already know. At least that's one of the examples, right? So that's being suggested by professor to the class because it has some advantage. So that's one of a good example. Also from previous class session, we know there are for this suture, they many versions in probably in each language. So we will just use this listed as an example. The other one, for example, is the Korean a Buddhist text, a Buddhist canon catalog, which is the earlier work by Professor Lancaster. And this is a very important example also from my point of view, because sutra probably in the beginning is it could be in the form of individual text, but many in the later days usually they are being collected into group, and also to the collection during the long history of the Buddhist practice and the activity. And also through the time, there's a many scholars and people also studying it, and many of their work are being collected gradually, also into the collection like the Buddhist canon. So for us, that is a very important area also for us to have that as resources. And in order to understand that, then usually the catalog information is a very important to see so-called the meta information. Another one is the SA, the Taisho database, which is the Taisho version of the complete repository of the canon, the relatively modern, because it was completed only the early last century. And by the way, it is in a large part based on the Korean Buddhist, which is the Han, the Han language Buddhist canon, which is about 1,000 years ago, right? But this one is from this canon. If we look at as a collection, we can see the way things are being organized will be different from the Tripitaka Koreana, the Korean Buddhist canon, which has also bring a lot of information, can help us to understand, the text, along the way, how it being organized and also being arranged, and also which are reflecting people's understanding as a wider repository of Buddhist word. I mean, it's a words. Yeah. And also another repository we all probably know is the C beta and C beta is the first digitization of the Taisho, the Han, the Chinese character version of the Buddhist canon. And so because when they started to digitize the paperback, the paper-based version of Taisho, they actually started the work earlier than the Taisho group themselves. So they and also there are many additional work being put into it. So that's another a very important resources. And for the general web resources, actually there's another example or category is the online encyclopedia, the famous is the Wikipedia. And also there's some very specifically focused on the Buddhist text or work, is also in one particular language like English or other Chinese or something like that. The Wikipedia, I brought it up here is because this resource actually have a multiple language is a multilingual. You have multiple versions in one place. So that is can help us for Buddha's text, especially because the Buddha's text, is one, we can say is one of the greatest work in humanity, in human history, which is cross multiple language, being translated, and also the amount of the work. So later we can experience, to try it out, and then we can show, what, the multilingual portion of it. And also as encyclopedia, the digital form, the also it has the advantage of have many keywords or concepts in words. It's already have the linkage, in that big repository of Wikipedia. So that is also one of the, I think, early resources that we can try in our research to help us to get started. Like I said, for example, there's an encyclopedia of Buddhism, which is English. It used a similar format as a Wikipedia system, but the only thing, the one thing technically is different is it's a at this point is a multilingual, is only English in English. We know in terms of the AI era, all those in our view, we have this very powerful technology can empower or enable us in our research in all three stages. Here is a detail, a little bit more in the area. So those are we already know pretty much. And in terms of tool, and also our toolbox right now also including AI, category of tools. And for the repository, the AI, even though it's very slowly integrated, but I believe, down the road, those will be definitely helping us tremendously. But things doesn't, uh, just fall from the sky, it is causing someone's effort, right? So including us as a scholar in the field. So that is we, and also at this particular stage, in very early stage, many things are still pretty in the early infancy. So, but we know when AI can do, even at this time, it can do, it's really can help us improve efficiency. I think at this point, that's our focus of why we are using AI. I mean, the main advantage we want to take. We know there's other unknown and probably even negative fronts. We don't want to deal with AI, but I think that's after now it's almost 2 years after the Gen AI come up. We are is also getting knowing a little bit more, and then I think we believe in it. What we believe is we want to take what is the advantage, the positive advantage, and avoid using, at least before we know, how they can do the, to have what kind of effect. We trying to avoid using the negative and something we don't know totally. They are negative possible effect of AI tools or means. So, and for this class, we can even look, focus a little bit more further. We know this particular course we are studying the Buddha's text, the sutra, one particular sutra, and in terms of text, we know from information science point of view, we usually deal, simply speaking, or a simplified view is we can say, look at it in two ways. One is the content itself is the content text, meaning usually it's the text of the sutra in our case, this class's case itself. We want to study it and then we want to understand it. And so we want to use the resources that we just mentioned to help us to understand that. So that is a focus on the content of the text. Then, but for a human to understand, or even for our own study or purpose of research of a text, we want to know more the contextual or the related thing. Those information is usually, those are the thing we can say those are the meta information. So we can call the content, which is our main focus, is the primary information we are trying to study, and then anything related to it, but not necessarily the main focus, or as a, or the, some of those, anything is not in your main focus, let's put it that way. We can call them, in generally speaking, meta information or meta data. For example, the sutras history. I don't mean, those history doesn't help us to understand the text itself. So it's I think even for students, for example, everyone has they different focus, during different time, even during the class, or just for this class, my focus on certain way, then you can use this perspective, then can kind of help you to organize some of the thoughts or the way of dealing with the research issue. So in terms of tools and resources, we can look at, I think this is a misorganization, organized. So it's not, the main category is not tool, but this is the main resources. The university's library, the website actually is a very, very good source. I'm sure many of you already know, but I just want to point it out to relate it to this class later when we look at it again, because the library website, the resources they are being listed is in general is all the being edited by human. That's how. So we think we believe it's a more reliable at this point, right? The most important thing is that if we have questions or issues, then we can, go to our library and ask our librarians. And then we have more on the ground, kind of answer. The main issue of using AI at this point is, which is the major thing. We will talk about it a little bit later, go deep into it, is sometimes the outcome from the AI, the answer from it, we don't know if they are true, so this called the hallucination, right? So that's the big issue, because that requires us to verify. We have to verify, especially at this stage of the AI, or for AI, which with some of the areas it haven't been developed well enough, or it doesn't have enough information for them to be to the level we want. Then it's a very serious issue. So that's why we still need to rely on the previous, practice, right? So which is like searching using tool ourselves. For example, Google search, the result, it doesn't necessarily have the hallucination, but we do have the the untrue information. But at least those are a little bit more static, so for us to deal with. So that's why, from I think my point of view at this point is, when we use AI, then we need to use another technology to double check and and this is easy to say than doing it, because uh, that's why it's a similar line we are learning from our human expert, right? So human expert also have their limitation, but at least we can get certain degree of uh, confident, and or we can have someone to communicate, and then knowing we get certain level of confidence of what we are getting or learning, and we can discuss in a very fine granularity level. Now AI, in the long run, in the future, we will have that capability too. But as we know, just like human, in some areas we don't have that many expert. For example, AI also, they they don't necessarily, also learn everything in everywhere or every discipline, to the degree we expected. So those are we need to keep in mind when we're using this new AI tool. The other the um the other yeah, this is a misinformation. The other category is the dictionary and reference. We can get from the web, which is can also being a category we can manually use for aiming us to either chat with AI result, or we can do our parallel search or research. Okay. So here, I think basically those are some of the examples of AI tools. I just want you at this point to look at it and see if you can have access of those three today, or at least have one. So later we can try some hands-on. And so the first one is a ChatGPT, and the second one is Google's Gemini, and the third one, this one is a new one. It's just a lately getting a very high attention. Is the called the deep sea, from China, developed from China. Uh, since it's a Chinese application, and the data, we assume it being trained is a more the Chinese um, data or information. Uh, so we think, in terms of a Buddha's text, it might have some advantage in some front. So that's a one thing we can try. So let me let me pause here a little bit and see if we can do a simple exercise. Let's see. Let me. Okay. So I'm just going to ask, the class to try to find one term or one session from the text. In my example, I'm using that 佛说实地经, as a prompt. And yeah, I think let me just share the screen and then show you. So this is the prompt. Okay. And the first, let me just describe, and then you can try it and see to get the first-hand experience. When I put in the Chinese, I just cut and paste, so you don't even need to know Chinese. Then the AI will respond, give you outcome in Chinese as well. Then I tell the AI to give it to me in English. And then I simply ask it's a history or the timeline, something like that. Yeah. So let's see if we can try it, ask the class to try. You can try the example I gave to you for now as a quick exercise, and then you can come up one for yourself. then we can see what's the experience. Yeah. And so do we have access to AI on your own right now? Okay. So just not your head. Okay, good. So if you have a more than one, try them all, use the same prompt, and then we can compare the result and see how does it work.
Howie,
Yes.
one thing that you might try
Mm.
is to ask a very specific question like, what does the Dasha Bhumika teach in the fifth Bhumi?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's.
So could you post the Chinese in the chat so that I can
Oh yeah, yeah.
see?
Let me just put it in the chat. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, I got it.
Okay. And so we can all try, like Professor just mentioned it, that particular one. After we ask the system to respond to us in English, then we can continue to ask the question.
And you should just keep asking questions while we're waiting.
Mm.
Ask as many questions as you can.
Yeah, that's right. If you
Anna.
uh,
Do we see that slide again that you had up really quick?
yes, let me share the screen. Yeah, the first is the Chinese prompt. Once you get it, then you follow it up. Just tell him to answer in English. Basically, that's it. And then the last two questions, you can after that you can substitute, just like Professor suggests, ask it, in the fifth.
The term, Fo Shuo Shi Di Jing translates to Sutra on the 10 grounds as spoken by the Buddha. This refers to the Shi Di.
So that's the result from who? And with which system? Is it ChatGPT?
I had used Gemini.
Gemini. And okay, when you are ready, then we can have let's share some of our screens so we can go further discussion with the professor. Okay, let's see who would like to share first. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can share.
Mm.
So so basically I follow the instruction. Literally I just type in the Chinese characters of the
Yes.
sutra name.
Mhm.
It's very without any specific prompts, and actually it's smart enough to just ask me how can I help you in Chinese, right? So um, I try try a simple one saying, can you kind of explain this in English? And I thought I also asked a very specific question. For example, I sort of raised the same question I posted in the forum about, can you
Mhm.
discuss the joyfulness based on the sutra? So
Mhm.
it sort of tried to summarize it based on the teaching from the sutra. I didn't read through all of them carefully, but I thought it's very interesting in how AI can make sense
Mhm.
out of the text,
Mhm.
and also try to summarize it and respond it in a very structured way, and even with a summary.
Mhm.
I honestly don't know how accurate it is, but I'll definitely read it as a reference. Yeah.
Exactly. Very good. Now, from a technical side, right now, because like I said, I'm not a Buddhist specialist, so but I want to share my point of view from the information science or the technical side of it. As we can see, you know, even though we don't know the answer, how accurate, we know there's a many things it's not accurate, right? But also we know many things, you know, it's seems right. That means that there's a very pretty good percentage gives us some uh, new imagination or trigger us to think about or some new direction it points out, right? So those are already the positive thing. So that's what I think, in this era, I mean, this early AI era, we trying to learn this skill to cope with this situation. Is we want to, you know, learn more how to judge, or let's get the positive point of it. If it's still not um, quite sure, then we keep our mind, our open mind, and then we find other ways, down the road, you know, we don't necessarily need at this moment to figure it out, how accurate they are or whatever. But, those are the strategy, or in my presentation, I called it the ways of dealing with or thinking, strategize, and also doing in this new era. So that's something I said. It's a very good through this just this example. It can help us to reflect. That is a good, yeah. And continue. Any other, or have you tried? So you use ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely ChatGPT is pretty good. And let's see, anyone using different um okay, San, yeah, please.
Oh, this did Reverend Kenjin just want to say something, but I go first.
No,
Yeah,
no,
let me
I'm
share.
okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I have tried Gemini just now, but let's quickly go to Gemini first. I think actually the AI now is really smart. Whether you type in Chinese or another language, it will give you the summary. Just add in Chinese what does in the Dashabhunika Sutra the fifth Bhumi say, and he give me something. I would say, could you translate it into English and then translate to back to English? And then also I use DeepSeek, and I would like to share because in the last 2 weeks, DeepSeek cannot afford too many requests all over the globe, but it seems to work really well today. And even though I have some typo, but it's okay for DeepSeek. It gives also the summary. And ask him in Chinese what's the history of Dashabhurika Sutra, and also give me something. I would like to also share another tool. It's because I'm in the maybe Howie professor know very well. We are in the Fugong Dictionary English translation team, and Venerable Zhiyue found a really good tool. Expands. We can register as academic workflows, and then kind of like we can choose many AI. We use DeepSeek V3 now because you can understand the Chinese traditional really well, and because we have many prompts to train the the DeepSeek. So when I type in the same question, Dashabhumika Sutra, the fifth Bhumi, it will give me also the same introduction, but it will kind of like give us the more explanation, like the scholarly commentary, because I can quickly show you. We are translate all those terminology now, because we gave the DeepSeek many very prompt to train them. They understand what we really need. As you know, AI need to be communicate with you with the prompt. Then you be like real human thinking. So that's my trying. I really recommend to you if you want to understand the Chinese the traditional sutra wording. DeepSeek is the best. Okay, that's my trying just now.
Yeah, very good for your feedback. And then it's from the front end, front line, warriors using
Uh,
using the newest tool.
yeah.
Now, Sansan's example, let me just intercept to give a little bit comment here. Is showing, when we are knowing the language, which is also very with a lot of rich content, then definitely we have this a very high advantage. Now, for people don't know Chinese, now what is the way? That's the strategy we have. So let's just think about, right? So we have our sutra text in Chinese. At least we have two language, Chinese and English. We know that particular sutra text already being translated. So we can, for one, using the just like we did in this exercise, simply copy certain portion of the text and then just simply through it to AI and ask AI to sort it out or clean it up or make it clear to us, in the language we know a little bit better, which I assume, we all, can understand English better compared to Chinese, right? Unless that's the case, then that's the strategy. And now, like last time, Alice in another session, last session, basically showing, the other tool like the NTI reader, it has the ability if you just simply put a segment of the text Chinese in Chinese, it will find the some of the keywords or the the meaningful words out of that, and then you have the English with it. So if you don't know Chinese, you can use that tool, for example, and gather, and then at least you know what part in that unknown, you know, uh, language script, is something you can cut and paste and then through to AI to help you further, right? So that is the strategy, for us to from the very, very beginning. Once you use, you can use, even though it's not as efficient as any other native Chinese speakers student can do it, faster. But that is already very fast compared to many of the scholars, in the past, right? So I think, relatively speaking to our own situation, the tool nowadays already improved quite a lot and enable us pretty much, in a very, high degree efficiency. So to learn this, foreign language text. So I think those are the strategies that we can adopt at this point. So if you think about if it's just, not too long a suture, I mean, even a long suture, because usually suture is not that long, I mean, except one, or one collection, then you can, in many cases, you can, put a one big chunk of it. You can just throw it to AI, ask it to give you summary in another language. I don't know. Let me see. In some case, you can even ask AI to do the linguistic, the string or word processing to show you which portion of the characters are meaningful, right? So the AI has those capability hidden already. So we can ask AI to help us to overcome that initial hurdle to bring the the necessary holder in the text, so we can use that to use other tools to deal with it in another language which we know a little bit better. So I think that's the comment I want to make at this point. Okay, sorry about Reverend Kenjin.
No, that was perfect. I just I'd used a few of them. I had tried ChatGPT as well as the other one that I used was um, Gemini. And I
Mhm,
have to say that ChatGPT was much more I felt as if it seemed to have communicated a little better with concerning it in a more
mhm,
comprehensive fashion than Gemini. One thing I was interested to try with the new one, that's why her suggestion for the deep sea is good, is that as you were saying, I don't know how I'd phrase it. I think a lot of times that's where I get stuck, is how to break apart the radicals, perhaps, of the Chinese radical to see the actual meaning of the character. I'm trying to think how to um, break that down
mhm. Yeah.
or how to ask AI.
Mm, very good. Um, yeah, let's, yeah, ask Professor Lancaster. Um, do you have other, you know, thinking and challenges to us.
Well, I'm I think tonight we just have time for everybody to do what we just heard. I'd like to see everybody. Next time, I'm going to show you one of the ways in which you can check on the chat results. So I'll put up the sutra and I'll show you how I check, but I'll do that next time.
That's very good.
I'd like to hear from everybody tonight if they can do this one very important task.
Yeah, that's a very good challenge as well as you know, pointing the direction. Because not just our class, I think everybody at this point with the technology have this huge challenge, how to find ways to verify AI's response to us. And then our class has this also indicated, you know, one very special case, which is what about something, you know, we don't know the whole story yet. You know, who is the expert, right? And, you know, in what degree, you know, as a constructively, we want to use the benefit of AI aiding us, right? So that is a general question. I think we just for all of us need to keep that in mind. So then we can, in our actually, you know, using tools which we do want to use, right? And also have this how do you say this balance, you know, in the back of our mind to also do extra work along the way. So that is important in the era of using AI, at least at this stage. I believe this will be, you know, in a long journey with AI. It's just some areas, you know, it will get better or something is already being proved and become common sense or common knowledge, then we don't need to check it every time. But it's still just like we deal with our human fellows. It's the same, you know. If we go deep into the frontier, then nobody can help us. You know, our human research approach, methodology, and ideas will still valid. I mean, it's still the major one. And also in this era, if we are in the you know, technology, you know, discipline, that is also a very interesting challenge. You know, we have to always compare, you know, our human biological computer system, you know, how it works, which we don't know yet. You know, we know very little, and this you know, AI, artificial, non, you know, human, you know, computer, you know, in what way? Just by looking at their behavior, you know, they what are similar, what are different. You know, the different actually pointed out can point it out to us some deep, you know, fundamental difference or conditions. So those are the interesting, you know, front areas for our, you know, computer science, you know, technology science, AI science, you know, those are the front research challenge, the same. So, okay. Let me, I still have something I want to share a little bit because this is the very the first example, but it's already can, you know, reflecting or indicating some of the pain points for us as a as from in the class. There's a multilingual, not knowing the language, and how to verify, so we can feel a little bit more comfortable using the AI result, just for ourselves, not not necessary, because just for the class, because all those challenges, I believe, is for our own professional sense. We want to find a way to improve what we can use. Yeah. Let me, Professor Lancaster, how much time do we have? So I can.
Well, we're going to take the whole time doing these things.
Mm,
I just want to make sure that all the students have a chance to do some reporting.
okay. So we can do this. Just let's let's make it balance. So Professor, you can give one prompt as we all to try it. Then we can share our screen, and then each of us come up with our own one, prompt or question, one or two, or how many, however many you want, and then also share with the class. So then we can use. I believe that could be a opportunity for us to flesh out issues we encounter already, or we might think will occur down the road for the class. Since we are all here, then hopefully then we can help if you have issues. Uh, and also we want to see all those new discoveries, new excitements you get from doing this exercise. Okay. Professor, do you have any challenges for us?
Well, we might ask that to work with Upaya Bien and ask it, what does the sutra tell us about skill and means in teaching? And then we can give it the Sanskrit Upaya. We can also give it the Chinese for that Sanskrit. Maybe Shanshan, I think you could lead the way here with that, or maybe Kanwu.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to come up with a prompt initially, so for
What is
your
what does the
classmates.
sutra? What does the sutra tell us about Upaya?
Okay, so actually, just as the professor says, so I just type in deep sea, similar question. I just asked let me check it too long because I use this every day.
Yeah, you
Why
can.
do Yana Bodhisattva have skillful means for sentient beings? So it just come up many. Because that's happily, I also want to share something, but just let me share, because when I watched the professor's video, I also just have new thought for the skillful means. So venerable also mentioned this question, upaya. So it just come out to tell me why do Mahayana Bodhisattva have skillful means for sentient beings, the nature of sentient beings, the Bodhisattva compassion, nature of reality. Employ example, and I also could um ask please explain it in this sutra context.
Yeah, Sansan, before you go on, can
Okay.
you help just by copy the initial prompt to share,
Oh,
so your classmate can also start to play with it?
okay, okay.
Yeah. So the prompt is in English. Um, so all of us can get that And then you can ask the AI to say to show you in Chinese so you can see what that might be, in the original Chinese, what is it? So that's also another way, the reversing. You want to see how it, even though you don't know the language script, but that can help you to make the connection where Alyssa eventually uses some kind of a marker you can look for doing search or something like that.
Okay, let me type in the prompt.
Yeah, you can even just copy the one you already did, before.
Okay, it's okay. It will be soon. Okay, I type the prompt also in English in case you can understand. So it's just ask, why do the Bodhisattva use this upaya, skillful means for sentient being in this sutra?
Yeah, you now you can go ahead to share your screen to show because you have a little bit more to want to show your case, right?
Yeah. So I just combine the question to type in, but just now I just like communicate with my AI because just now I asked the general question, but I want to explain in the Dashabhumika Sutra. So it would kind of like give me many. So in this research, it will also help me really good to refine my English expression. And then you will come up. It's really like academia workflow. Developing and delivering high
Mahayana
quality.
Buddhism, particularly with
Developing and delivering high quality educational content. Oh, that's really good. Good point. Conducting impactful research or innovative methodology. Ethical integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think the AI has really thought of more the points. Give me some inspiration.
Yes. Yeah, it can looks like definitely it's a more complete, right? Compared to a human can just instantly answer your question. Then usually
Yeah.
they don't, necessarily can remember all. But AI, that's their advantage.
Yeah, I think for human, because we are limited to our own background, our own culture or life phase, so we just thought of one thing in our current life phase. And then by AI, they don't have age. They can select all those data from all around the world, different cultures.
Mhm.
They will come up a more general explanation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see the next volunteer to share their screen.
I
Okay,
can quickly share.
Mhm.
I tried something a little bit different. Also, leverage the things we learned from our last class. I'm using DeepSeek this time.
Mhm.
Again, I start with the definition of upaya,
Mhm.
and then I say, "Can you talk about this in Chinese?"
Mhm.
And also, I sort of use a prompt with a mixture of Chinese and English, and it's giving me the relevant information. So basically, I ask, what is upaya in the context of the sutra. So it's interesting that the way that DeepSeek explained it, it goes through each of the grounds and try to extract the concept of upaya from each of the sections, which I found is very interesting. For example, in the Joy foreground, they talk about upaya involving basic teachings to help each other develop faith and take their first step on the path, and go on with all the different grounds. I found it very insightful. And also, I tried something different. It has a lot of good summarizations from the AI. So then I wonder if I ask AI to talk about upaya in this context, how about from other sutras? Other sutras actually talk about upaya as well. So basically, I ask exactly this, and then it gave me a couple of examples from the different sutras, from the Lotus Sutras, and also from other sutras, which I found is also very insightful because I have no time, really no capacity to study other sutras. So it gave me like a very good outline of the comparisons between in the concept between different sutras. And then this is I learned from last class. So I wanted to see a table format, just it's a little bit easy for me to comprehend. So it indeed create that format, and with the focus, explanation, and examples, which is really good, organize information in such a way that it's very easy for me to comprehend. And then I also try say, hey, now I want to know the timeline. So basically I add another column just to give me a reference point of when the development of these concepts based on the timeline of the sutra. So I thought this is a very good research tool for me to kind of really do a deep dive into this concept and for this concept across the different references. Yeah, that's something I did quickly.
Wonderful. Yes.
I think you're on mute, Howie.
It's giving you answers which are far better than anything you would get off the cuff from me. And I'm happy that's the case.
Yeah, it's I feel it's so powerful to use this as a tool for us to learn and to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Howie, let's see how some of the other people in the class are doing.
I think you're on mute, Howie.
You're mute.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's an excellent example. I think we can share with our fellow students. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see who can show their share their screen and next. Okay. Please go ahead, Venerable.
To me, I use Chat CBT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this from beginning. So yes, from this one related to the skillful mean. And at first, when I paste that phrases into the Chat GPT, and then it appear all in Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't understand it, and I say like, please translate it in English. And here It translate all the thing into English. And then I ask again, please translate in Khmer, in my language. So it translate all in my language. And then I keep asking, does Theravada Buddhism use upaya too? And they explain that in Theravada Buddhism, the concept of upaya translate as skillful mean, to recognize, but it's not prominently emphasized as it is in Mahayana traditions. In Theravada, upaya refer to the Buddha's ability to accept his teaching, to suit the capacity and need, all the things. Yeah, so that's all that I have done with.
This is also a very good example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good work.
Yeah. And let me ask that question. From your own language, do you think it makes sense to you, the answer?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
great.
Now, let me just give a challenge for you next time when you go home or whatever, then you can try. Now,
Yeah.
it gives you, don't tell you the difference, right? The AI like answer that. You can further ask them what's the source they are based on, right? So then hopefully they can get the documentation, I mean the actually text as a proof or something like that, right? So that's another, excuse me, tip to us. We can ask AI as well, ask them to provide data support material or way they are based on, right? So that's another area we can try on ourselves. Sorry.
Shan Shan has her hand up.
Yeah, so thank you very much. That's a really good try. I just have a curiosity. So in your own language, do you find the explanation is really good? So for your Buddhist tradition, so do they accurate? Do you think that if you answer that question, you will provide more information? So that's
Uh,
my question.
Actually, in my language, some error. The translate it like mean it have the word dog in Khmer like sky, but in English no the word dog, just like the word they use the word sentient being and they translate from sentient being to the dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So because this is a Chinese large language model base, so I'm also curious. So how about reacting to the other language except the English?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for for your showing of that.
Yeah, you can later on your own try with another AI system like
Yeah,
ChatGPT or Gemini.
yeah.
Yeah. And as
I
a
try two, but this time I just try one.
yeah, and you can see this is already pretty encouraging experience, right? So from started with a non doesn't under it's not your own language, you don't even understand it much, then you can already in within probably less than 30 minutes, then you can go to the level you can starting to further push questions and get further with it, right? Okay, that's another very good example. Okay, let's see who's next one to share their fun.
Can I go next?
Okay, Wei.
Okay.
Um, I'm using Perplexity, and the beginning I just tried to ask what is upaya. I just use Chinese because I want to know the explanation first. And the explanation it gave me is kind of difficult to understand just for me. So even those are in Chinese, but like I feel like each word connect to one sentence, but I don't understand. So, since I'm pretty new to this field, so I pretty new to Buddhist, so I try to ask the main prompt first, like why use it to um, teach people, and then it also give me some difficult explanation that it's really hard to understand. So I just ask directly, can you just use the simple way to explain? And this explanation, even it's in Chinese, is really good. So it just tell me, just imagine that you're a teacher and facing different students from different background. You have to use different skills to explain to let all your students know and control the knowledge. So that's why I use upaya. And then I feel like I'm enlightened. I know what did that mean right away. And it gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's a conclusion. And for more convenience, I just try to translate it in Chinese, sorry, in English. So it gave me like a whole translation in English. Like imagine you're teaching facing the teachers facing a group of students from different background with varying learning ability. Your goal is to ensure all students understand the knowledge. There is where skillful means come into play. So I feel like it's really simple and easy to understand as a brand new student to understand it simply. And then I love this conclusion. So this means like a Bodhisattva's toolbox filled with various methods for teaching and helping others. This method allows Bodhisattva to better assist different individuals, guiding them towards enlightenment and happiness. So I really like it. So this is the time I feel like this tool really useful that can help me like understand this difficult term really easily. Yeah. Thank you guys.
It's very good.
Yeah. Well,
And
thank you so much. Yeah. This is another very good example. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like the fact that she kept on prompting
Yeah.
till she got to the place where she understood it.
Mm.
That's really essential for all of you. If you continue to use the prompting, you can get to a level where you do understand it, I think. And I think she just showed us a wonderful example of that. Thank you so much, Winnie. Wei.
Yes. My pleasure.
Okay. Let's
Let's see.
continue.
Sanjay, would you like to share?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I asked to ChatGPT what Sunshine asked, why do you Mahayana Bodhisattva had skillful means to sentient beings in this sutra? Also describe about compassion and wisdom must work together. Mahakaruna and also Panya, and then teaching in ways that should find beings. I asked ChatGPT what does Sutra tell us about Upaya. So, yeah, Kausalaya it means as a crucial quality of Bodhisattva's path. In Mahayana Buddhism, upaya refers to ability to adapt teaching and method should needs, capacities, and karmic conditions. So it's nicely answered. It's really good to understand easily. And also, upaya is developed through the 10 bhumis. Bodhisattva use many forms of upaya, explained about upaya, and also upaya and ultimate rules. And also finally conclusion is the ChatGPT answered the Dasa Bhumika Sutta teacher the upaya is a defining characteristic of Bodhisattva's path. It allows to Bodhisattva to pierce the gap between wisdom and compassion, ensuring that teaching are accessible and effective for all beings. So it's nicely answered by ChatGPT.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. So I'm sure, down the road, then you can continue because the answer always bring up new questions. So you can
Yeah.
continue to prompt and then to explore. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Let's see. Samantha, are you there?
Yes.
How about sharing your screen with us?
Sure. So I started just asking in general wait, hold on. Okay, so I think I started with what does upaya mean? So I didn't ask it in the context of the sutra specifically, and I thought it gave a pretty good example. It didn't mention this sutra, but it mentioned another one. And it also mentioned Theravada and Mahayana at the same time. So I thought that was an interesting point. And in general, I feel like it made sense. I'm not super familiar with um, like the nitty-gritty of the text. I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I thought it was interesting that it also included like Chinese in here. And I can't read this one, but I know this one is accurate, seems pretty accurate. And then so that I asked what the role of upaya is specifically in this sutra, and then it gave some more specific examples and how it functions in the Bodhisattva path. And then it gives you a general conclusion of like what it means and how we can use it, and then what the end result is if we are able to do so, which is, I think, a pretty useful breakdown of all the elements that we would want to think about. And then I asked basically the same question again, but this time instead of using upaya, I just kind of translated it automatically just to kind of see if it would have any differences if I used, I guess, a different language. And it did pick up immediately that, we use this word again, and it also included it in Chinese. And it did give slightly different answers, but I think the fundamental elements are still kind of the same. So I think it is fairly consistent across different ways of asking and also, like, I guess, different languages as well. So yeah.
Yeah, very good. I mean, I think we all see that it's, as Howie has said, we have this at our fingertips now. And it's, well, let me say a word about what I want to do next time. Did you all get and can you open up and get the translation into English with the Chinese in the Kalavinka? Did everybody try that? I think, Chris, we sent out the link to.
Yes, there's a link to a PDF on Moodle. Try.
Did everybody try and open it? Did it work for you? So next time, I'm going to take you into that and try to show you one way that I use the sutra in a somewhat old-fashioned way, but it can be helpful to me. And that is where I choose a word And I ask it to show me everywhere that it occurs in the sutra. And then I go and look at that, actually look at each one. Now, one of the interesting things was when I was doing this, it had the word wasting disease, wasting away. And I took the Chinese and it said psoriasis, the disease of, or an autoimmune disease which causes your skin to get flaky and dry. And I'm still trying to decide if that's what they meant. Did they have that disease in the ancient China? Was it diagnosed? Or are they talking about something else, the drying disease? These are just the kind of questions that come up sometimes. And that's when you try to use as many prompts as possible to see how far you can go to understand it. And the need to use those prompts shows you that there are many answers. And the question is, are you getting a reasonable response from your prompts? Well, as usual, I'd like to go around and ask people, what happened to you tonight? I'll have to call on people, right? Okay. So Wei, what happened to you tonight?
Share a little bit about my life. It takes longer than usual to put my son in bed, and I kind of lost like half of the class, but I still able to catch up in the middle. And then I'm really glad I can share something in class. And right now is right on time. My husband come back, so happy Valentine's, everybody.
Yes, thank you. How about it, Sanjib? What happened to you tonight? Little Sanjib.
Yes, it's usual as a monastic life. And I just before class, I finish my chanting, evening chanting. Then I start my class. Then share something about the AI. That's it. That's good.
Good. Okay. Han, how about you?
Yes, I'm actually currently in Taiwan for the Chinese New Year. So yeah, I found it's I plan to visit Guangshan in Kaohsiung later this month. I don't know if they still have the exhibit, the Silk Road exhibit there. If I'll be more than happy to see it in person now. But also another realization I had from this class, Professor, I remember you mentioned in the beginning of the class that you read the sutra, the 10 ground sutra, like multiple times. Every time you have realizations. Now I'm wondering, now that we have so many tools to facilitate our learnings, how do I strike a balance between just read it myself versus just leverage the tool to give me all the learnings? Would it give me different learnings? Or I mean, this is something I've been thinking about. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to say that I feel that idea about rereading many times is not as important as it used to be. And I need to acknowledge that and come up to date. Because with these promptings, we get so much information that I would say you are getting more from the promptings from the AI than from multiple readings. But you might try at least to reread it or reread portions of it a couple of times and see what you think. I would love to hear from you all. Thank you. Let's see. How about you, Reverend Kanjan? What happened to you tonight?
It's actually interesting what Khan was talking about. It was actually something that also that I've been understanding is that, how to implement this because it was interesting, one of the essays I was translating from one of my teachers was about the modernization of Buddhist study and where that issue happens when Buddhism, I think the first lecture that was given on the Heart Sutra in like 19 or something in Japan was faced with a lot of criticism because, the monk had also said, and now studying in a very traditional way, going through each character. And as we had said, having that transmission of the meaning of the character. Because, like, even as I was thinking, we look at it, it's easy to go down rabbit holes all the time in a way of thinking from our capacity that we understand it, that even something as easy as standing had a very significant different meaning that the teacher would share. And it just changed the entire text and its context than how I read it. And that trying to implement this kind of information along with that is essential that how to be able to use it. So one thing that I didn't share my screen, but I went into the radical aspect of the radicals and the kanji characters themselves. And I think that there's a balance between that traditional aspect and then also our own self studies. So like my teacher would teach me for an hour and then the rest of the day was my own self study. But I think that would keep me from going down as Khan was talking about, perhaps a rabbit hole in the idea that totally, in a way misrepresenting the text through a single character, which changes the entire context. It was just so simple. It's something that as somebody learning, I didn't really take into how do you say I wasn't really aware of it until one of my teachers goes, explain this sentence to me. And I explained it and he goes, well, what does this character mean? And I gave a very general, literal meaning of it. And he goes, how does that mean it was totally strange and wrong in the sense that when he changed the meaning of it from what the basic perception was or understanding, it would just blew my mind. So that's just something I'm cautious of, perhaps.
Yeah, good. Very good. Venerable, who hasn't called? How about you? What happened to you tonight?
Tonight I feel like I have spent more time to read about Dhammapumika Sutra and another thing, especially over here, what I have learned about AI. I feel so happy that I have, before I just know about the chat GBT and DeepSeek, and today I know Gemini, yeah, another one, and I feel that I would use all of those to compare what is going on related to the Buddhism and also some other thing that related to something that I feel that I don't want to use the book. So I just want to try all of those to compare which one is better. And then I keep using it. So thank you very much for Howie for saying us about this wonderful AI.
Let's see, Samantha, did you share what happened to you tonight?
Not yet.
Okay.
I think I mostly wanted to comment on like Han's question as well. So I think there's value in both using AI to kind of get the basic points down and kind of the details, but I think there's still value also in a more traditional route of reading the original text like multiple times, because I think it like both ways serve different purposes. So I think for like efficiency and expediency of learning maybe like the knowledge or more like an academic approach to the text, I think can be very helpful to use AI to, get lots of information in a condensed way really quickly. But I think on a more like personal level of practicing and understanding it and like integrating it into your life, I personally think it's very helpful to reread texts multiple times because across your life as like your experiences change and you age and your perception changes, I think like what you take away can be different as well. So I think um it can be important not to forget the value of like more traditional options in the face of a lot of like this explosive technological growth. Yeah. Thank you.
Honorable D, you have a last word for everybody?
Well, I'm okay. I'm trying to relax because as I listen, I try not to think as you guys speak because I have a long day tomorrow from 8 to 10 p.m. and it's my birthday tomorrow. So, and I'll be inside the prison. You know,
Well, happy birthday from all of
thanks.
us. May you have a good year.
I'm ready to go, seriously.
Let's see, who hasn't shared?
Chris?
I think you've shared a lot tonight, but and we appreciate it so much, but do you have a last word? Chan?
Hi. Yeah. So I would like to share because when I remember when I introduced the class of professor to one of my friends, she's also in the Fogongshan now, and she asked us, "What did Professor Lancaster teach you about AI?" So I said, Professor, of course, will not teach us how to code, something like that. He would invite some teachers like Howie and Alex to teach us how to use the AI or what kind of tools. And because she's working in UBS, kind of from the inspectors, bankers perspective, she said, oh, professor has a really long-term perspective, because in the future, AI is a normal tool. He's just trying to teach you from starting now to use this tool, because in the future, everyone have to use it. And she's just think that you are really have a long perspective for the future. And so she's joined me now for my classes. So I really want to thank professor for that. And also for me, and I think that also AI will be in the future like a normal tool like the PowerPoint, the Word, something like that for us in daily use. So that's why we're trying to fit that our Buddhist translation, like we are from Pogong or with all variables, we translate it. And like Samantha mentioned, we read the sutras also very frequently, and we just feedback our knowledge back to AI to try to train AI. And like Venerable Miao Guang said, that for Fogongshan now, she has ambition, and also the same we shared with her. It's like we're trying to get a position in AI for the Buddhist Mahayana explanation. So we are really touched for Venerable Miao Guang's that point. So that's why for us, for me, AI is really like a friend, a baby friend. So we try to develop with him or her with the AI. So in the future, yeah, AI is just a normal thing, like the Apple form. We just use it every day. So that's my sharing.
Thanks so much. Chris, I think everybody has shared, and I'll turn it over to you to bring the class to an end. Thank you, everybody. Enjoyed all your sharing tonight. Good.
Good. Thank you, everyone. That was very interesting exercise today, and what you all shared also insightful. It was really interesting to see how these AI tools have changed so rapidly, so quickly, and what you all did with them and the angles you took and the things that you asked and took away. I'm even more intrigued now after tonight's session to see what we can do with the Dasha Bhumika and Buddhist studies with the AI tools. I think Shen Shen is right. This will be everybody's common tool. I think elementary school kids will be trained using these AI chatbots, and everyone will have them as the default go-to. Perhaps we can set up a forum on the Moodle page to share the tools that you're using and the tips and tricks you're using as you look at the sutras. I'll set that up maybe this weekend and send out a link. Thank you all very, very much. As always, have a nice night and see you again next week. Take care. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.